Fantasy football isn't won by memorizing rankings. It's won by understanding opportunity. And opportunity starts with the environment. Before you learn rankings, learn the environment. This is the fantasy football ecosystem. Know the environment. Draft better.
We are now inside the fantasy football ecosystem. I'm JW. Before you learn rankings, learn the environment. Fantasy drafts are comfortable while the obvious players remain. The harder decision begins in the middle rounds, when a preferred target disappears and similarly ranked players offer different opportunity. That is where a memorized list becomes less adaptable. You need a mental model for which volume is dependable, which ceiling depends on a camp battle, and why talent in a good offense may remain difficult to trust. The fantasy football ecosystem does not replace ADP or rankings. Rankings provide the forecast. The ecosystem provides the framework for using it. When the board changes, compare the remaining players with your roster, your positional needs, your current ADP, trusted rankings, and each offensive environment. You do not need every statistic. You need a durable picture of concentrated opportunity, stable assignments, priced risk, and whether an offense supports multiple dependable assets. Environment creates opportunity. Opportunity drives production. Production informs rankings. Let's build the AFC West ecosystem. Kansas City is a proven championship structure, trying to restore its standard while Patrick Mahomes returns from ACL and LCL surgery. Kenneth Walker changes the backfield, but the passing game depends on Mahomes and the Rice-Worthy-Kelsey order. The Chargers are a stable quarterback environment, moving from Greg Roman to Mike McDaniel. Justin Herbert gains a more aggressive spacing system. Omar Hampton projects as the backfield leader, and Ladd McConkey remains the dependable receiver. The line and tight end distribution require evidence. Denver owns the division's strongest combination of line continuity, quarterback stability, and receiving depth. Bo Nix returns from an ankle injury. Jalen Waddle joins Cortland Sutton, and Davis Webb becomes the play caller. Touch concentration is the question. Las Vegas is rebuilding around Ashton Genty, and Brock Bowers while Kirk Cousins opens camp ahead of first overall pick Fernando Mendoza. The quarterback timeline, recovery line, and unresolved receivers determine whether the offense expands beyond its two stars. Watch Mahomes' movement, McDaniel's distribution, Denver's backfield, and the Raiders' transition plan. Those answers separate available opportunity from dependable weekly work. As we move to each team environment, all the Fantasy Spine segments will generally assume a 12-team, one-quarterback redraft league. Kansas City remains organized around Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, but 2026 begins with recovery rather than assumption. Mahomes tore the ACL and LCL in his left knee late in 25, but he was medically cleared for full training camp. Kansas City is still managing his workload. His limited July 29 team snaps were not presented as a formal medical restriction. The team is evaluating whether his normal movement and improvisational ability have fully returned, preserving uncertainty around his early season rushing and off-script ceiling. Kenneth Walker arrives as the projected backfield leader, with Amari DeMarcado positioned for receiving and change-of-pace work. Rashard Smith and rookies Emmett Johnson and Jaden Ott compete for narrower assignments. Walker raises the talent level, but third down and scoring area usage still require evidence. Rashee Rice was cleared for training camp after ongoing off-season debridement on the right knee in 2024. Though the Chiefs will continue to monitor his workload, Xavier Worthy supplies speed and design touches. Tyquan Thornton and Jalen Royals compete for supporting routes. Travis Kelce remains a central situational target, although his former volume is less automatic. Josh Simmons remains the first-team left tackle. On July 30th, Khalil Benson received first-team right tackle work, while Jalen Moore worked at second-team left tackle. The competition remains fluid, not finalized, and tackle stability and pass protection remain conditions within the Mahomes projection. Andy Reid remains the head coach and primary play caller. Eric Bieniemy returns as offensive coordinator with his ecosystem value centered on installation detail, accountability, and run game structure. Kansas City needs cleaner early downs and less dependence on Mahomes rescuing broken plays. Reid can use Walker to stabilize the run game, Worthy to stress leverage, and Rice and Kelce to create faster answers. The enemy can reinforce execution, but Reed controls the sequence, and Mahomes' physical response controls how much of the menu is available. Mahomes still raises every Kansas City projection. His normal ceiling combines elite passing touchdowns with improvisational rushing. Reduced movement would increase the importance of protection, quick game efficiency, and separation. Walker gives Kansas City an accomplished lead back profile with explosive and receiving abilities. His ceiling depends on 2-minute, third down, and scoring area access. He is in the projected leader, not the owner of every valuable touch. Rice is the most natural high-volume receiver when healthy because his quick separation helps a recovering quarterback. Worthy remains the primary explosive option, while Kelsey can preserve third down and red zone value without his former total volume. Ken Walker is drafted with confidence. Walker combines proven talent, projected lead access, and a Reed Mahomes scoring environment. Demercado's specialized work should not erase the quality of Walker's touches. Mahomes, Rice, Worthy, and Kelsey are drafted with a price check. Mahomes remains elite, but his price must reflect possible reductions in early season rushing and improvisational value. Rice can lead in receptions, but rehabilitation must become a normal route share. Worthy offers explosive and design touch upside, but needs steadier weekly volume. Kelsey retains touchdown and money down access, though age and target competition lower the assumption from his peak. Demercado, Tyquan Thornton, and Jalen Royals are considered late. Demercado can earn passing work, Thornton remains a volatile field stretcher, and Royals has a path to outside routes if healthy and separated from the supporting group. Rashard Smith, Emmett Johnson, Jaden Ott, Noah Gray, Jared Wiley, and Cyrus Allen belong on waiver watch. Fields becomes streamable if Mahomes misses time because of his rushing. The young backs need an injury or specialty. The reserve tight ends and Allen need more routes. Opportunity is high. Reed, Mahomes, and Walker should create quality touches and scoring chances even before the offense reaches its full ceiling. Concentration is medium. Walker projects to lead the backfield, while Rice, Worthy, and Kelsey can divide the passing game. Risk is high. Mahomes' knee injury affects the entire structure. Rice is also returning from injury, and right tackle remains unsettled. The upside is high. A healthy Mahomes and stable primary hierarchy can support an elite quarterback, high-end back, and multiple starters. Kansas City carries greater central injury risk than Houston or Indianapolis, but Reed, Mahomes, and Walker preserve high opportunity and upside. Your Kansas City memory hook for the draft. Mahomes still raises the room, but recovery controls the timeline. In the middle rounds, pay for Walker's lead access and Rice's target path, but not merely for a Chiefs logo attached to any uncertain volume. The Chargers are changing the offensive design without changing the player who defines the ceiling. Justin Herbert remains the stable quarterback. Mike McDaniel replaces Greg Roman after another low-scoring playoff exit, aiming to create more space, movement, and efficient answers instead of asking Herbert to survive long downs behind protection breakdowns. The line should improve if the tackles remain available. Rashawn Slater returns from a patellar tendon injury and Joe Alt from ankle surgery. Tyler Biadasz and Cole Strange are added inside, while rookie Jake Slaughter joins a group establishing its best five. Health and cohesion remain conditions. Omarion Hampton enters camp as a projected leader after a productive but injury-interrupted rookie season. Keaton Mitchell adds speed and Kamani Vidal offers complementary work. Hampton has the strongest path to carries and scoring chances, but McDaniel's rotations make passing down usage important. McConkey said he is full go after a hamstring issue. Quentin Johnson returns after 8 touchdowns, and Trey Harris enters year 2. Aronde Gadsden, David Njoku, and Charlie Kolar form a deep tight end room that can improve the offense while complicating routes. Jim Harbaugh remains the head coach. Mike McDaniel is the offensive coordinator and expected offensive play caller. McDaniel's ecosystem comes from motion, condensed formations, and creating run-after-catch opportunities. Herbert can attack at every level. The design should add high-percentage answers and clearer ways to punish leverage. The run game should support the spacing system, and Hampton's power and Mitchell's speed can force horizontal discipline, opening intermediate space for McConkey, Johnston, and the tight ends. Better team efficiency can still spread secondary fantasy volume across several players. Herbert gives the Chargers a stable quarterback environment. McDaniel can raise his efficiency, but Herbert still relies more on passing touchdowns than rushing for fantasy separation. Hampton has the strongest combination of size, receiving ability, and scoring access in the backfield. His rookie ankle issue and McDaniel's willingness to rotate runners prevent a complete workload from being assumed. Even so, he is the best candidate to turn improved blocking and spacing into dependable touches. McConkey is the passing game's most stable weekly answer. He can win underneath, from the slot, and on movement concepts designed for yards after the catch. Johnson supplies boundary and touchdown value, while Harris and the tight ends give Herbert alternatives without erasing McConkey's first read access. Gatson owns the strongest tight end path after 664 rookie receiving yards. Njoku brings proven talent, and Kolar supports heavier personnel. The group may help the offense before its fantasy route distribution becomes predictable. Omarion Hampton and Ladd McConkey are drafted with confidence. Hampton projects to lead a productive backfield and can continue to contribute as both runner and receiver. McConkey owns the most dependable route and target profile in a system designed to create space for his skill set. Herbert, Quentin Johnston, or Rondé Gatson are drafted with a price check. Herbert can improve in McDaniel's structure, but his costs must remain connected to limited rushing and deep one-quarterback alternatives. Johnson has established touchdown access and can remain the leading outside receiver, but McConkey is the steadier volume option, and the supporting group can absorb routes. Gatson has the best path to lead the tight ends in receiving work, although Njoku's arrival and Kolar's blocking value leave the snap split unresolved. Trey Harris, Njoku, Keaton Mitchell are considered late. Harris needs a consistent third receiver route share, Njoku needs a defined package, and Mitchell can create explosive weeks, but Hampton stands between him and dependable volume. Kamani Vidal, Charlie Kolar, Darius Davis, Condre Lambert-Smith, and Brennan Thompson belong on waiver watch. Vidal needs backfield attrition or a large rotation. Kolar requires receiving routes, and the deeper receivers need camp separation before speed or special teams value becomes relevant. The opportunity is high. Herbert improved line talent and McDaniel's design should create quality touches and scoring chances. Concentrations at a medium, Hampton and McConkey are identifiable leaders, while the outside receivers and tight ends can divide the remainder. Risk is medium. Slater and Alt are returning from major injuries. The line must develop cohesion, and the new scheme may distribute secondary volume broadly. Upside is high. A healthy line and successful transition can support a high-end back, premium receiver, productive quarterback, and additional matchup starters. This resembles Houston and Jacksonville. The environment should generate opportunity, but secondary concentration must be earned. The memory hook is McDaniel can make the whole offense better, but volume still decides fantasy value. Hampton and McConkey own the dependable access. Behind them, draft the Charger, whose camp usage proves he belongs in the weekly plan. Denver enters 2026 with the division's strongest structural floor and one of its most complicated distributions. Denver went 14-3. Bo Nix threw for 3,900 yards and 25 touchdowns before breaking his ankle in the postseason. His return to first-team 11-on-11 work confirms progress, but managers still need to see his movement and design rushing at greater intensity. The offensive line remains a major advantage. Garrett Bowles and Quinn Miernes anchor a continuous high-end unit that should improve the quality of rushing opportunities and reduce immediate pressure on Nix. Jalen Waddle joins Cortland Sutton plus Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, and Pat Bryant. Evan Ingham returns at tight end. Denver can attack every level, but the Waddle-Sutton order and third receiving assignment remain unresolved. The backfield is deep and unsettled. J.K. Dobbins averaged 5 yards per carry before a 25 injury. R.J. Harvey produced 896 scrimmage yards and 12 touchdowns, while Jonah Coleman adds power and receiving potential. Sean Payton says camp will determine the rotation. Payton remains the head coach and offensive architect. Davis Webb was promoted to offensive coordinator and has been given play-calling duties. The concepts remain rooted in Payton's system, but the voice in Nix's helmet changes. Webb has worked directly with Nix and should preserve continuity. His fantasy impact will come through early down tendencies, red zone sequencing, and the backfield rotation. Sutton gives Webb boundary and scoring area reliability. Waddle adds speed, separation, and yards after the catch. Mims, Franklin, and Ingram stretch or work underneath. Denver can become more explosive without increasing every player's volume. Nick stabilizes the environment because he distributes on schedule and contributes with his legs. His ceiling rises if the ankle allows Denver to preserve design movement and red zone rushing. In one quarterback leagues, he still must separate through touchdowns, rushing, rather than efficient real life play alone. Sutton is the established passing anchor, with the strongest relationship with Nick's and the most dependable scoring area profile. Waddle can lead in yards or receptions, but he must build timing in a new system before his exact target share becomes established. The backfield belongs in the core as a hierarchy rather than one player. Dobbins owns the most established rushing profile. Harvey has recent scoring production and room to expand. Coleman was added for physical and third down potential, and one can become valuable, but the distribution can also prevent a complete weekly assignment. Cortland Sutton is drafted with confidence. Sutton combines established production, red zone access, and continuity with Nix. Waddle's arrival may reduce concentration, but it also makes the offense harder to defend and should not erase Sutton's most valuable work. Bo Nix, Jalen Waddle, J.K. Dobbins, and R.J. Harvey are drafted with a price check. Nix has a strong line, improved targets, and useful rushing access, but his cost must account for ankle recovery and a new play caller. Waddle can become Denver's leading explosive receiver. The price check is transition, new quarterback timing, Sutton beside him, and a deep supporting cast. Dobbins can lead carries if healthy, but his injury history and the presence of Harvey and Coleman prevent an assumed workhorse role. Harvey's rookie touchdown creates expansion potential, though broader rushing, receiving, and scoring area access must follow. Evan Ingram, Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, Pat Bryant, and Jonah Coleman are considered late. Ingram needs enough routes in a deep passing game. Mims, Franklin, and Bryant are competing behind Sutton and Waddle. Mims offers explosive value. Franklin brings established 2025 production, and Bryant can grow into a possession assignment. Coleman can force a meaningful committee. No receiver has won the third assignment. Jaleel McLaughlin, Justin Jolly, and Dallin Bentley belong on waiver watch. McLaughlin needs passing down work, while the rookie tight ends remain developmental options behind Ingram. The opportunity is high. Denver's line, quarterback stability, and receiving depth should create dependable scoring chances. Concentration is medium. Sutton is established, but Waddle's arrival in a three-player backfield can spread valuable touches. Risk is medium. Nix is returning from an ankle injury. Webb is a first-time NFL play caller, and the backfield remains unresolved. The upside is high. Denver can support two premium receivers, a strong quarterback, and at least one valuable back if the hierarchy becomes efficient. The profile fits Buffalo, Indianapolis, and Jacksonville. High-quality opportunity with enough distribution and transition risk to keep concentration at medium. Your draft memory hook: the line and Nick stabilize Denver. Sutton owns the established target. Waddle raises the ceiling, and every running back is a workload bet until camp separates the rotation. Las Vegas has two dependable fantasy anchors and an offense being rebuilt around the timeline of its next quarterback. Kirk Cousins opens camp with the first team. First overall pick Fernando Mendoza is the long-term answer, while Aiden O'Connell also competes for reps. Clint Kubiak has said the ideal plan is not to force Mendoza into the first week. Cousins is the current starter without fixing the full season order. The line must recover after allowing 64 sacks in 2025. Colton Miller and Jackson Power Johnson return from ankle injuries, while Tyler Lindenbaum, Spencer Buford, and rookie Trey Zune reshape the group. Health and cohesion remain major conditions. Ashton Jeanty and Brock Bowers are the established center. Jeanty produced 1,300 scrimmage yards and 55 rookie receptions. Bowers remains the leading receiver despite a knee issue and participated in the offseason program. Both give Kubiak high percentage answers. The wideout hierarchy is open. Trey Tucker led the group at 25. Jalen Naylor brings speed, touchdown, and prior timing with Cousins, while Jack Betch, Dante Thornton Jr., and Malik Benson compete for routes. Fourth round back Mike Washington adds size and speed behind Jeanty. He can earn complimentary work, but this is not a projected equal committee. Clint Kubiak is the head coach and expected game day play caller. Andrew Janako is the offensive coordinator and supports the design and quarterback development. Kubiak should use under center play action, movement throws, and define reads. Jeanty can carry the run identity and receive, while Bowers aligns across the formation as the first answer. Those two let the offense function before the receiver order settles. The coaching change raises the structural ceiling without eliminating risk from a recovering line. 2 quarterback timelines and an unproven receiver room. Genty owns the division's clearest touch profile. He can lead in carries, remain active in the passing game, and absorb scoring area work. Washington can protect the workload without changing the central truth. Las Vegas is building its weekly offense around Denchi's versatility. Bowers is the receiving anchor. His alignment flexibility and yards after the catch give either quarterback a dependable first read. Michael Mayer can support heavier personnel, but Bowers remains the player most likely to lead in targets. Cousins stabilized the opening phase through familiarity with QBX timing and play action. Age mobility and Apostle Mendoza takeover limit his fantasy ceiling. Mendoza's draft capital creates a future path, not a confirmed date. Ashton Denty and Brock Bowers are draft with confidence. Denty combines established all-purpose production with the strongest access to touches and touchdowns. Bowers owns the most dependable target path at a scarce position through a quarterback transition. Trey Tucker, Jalen Naylor, Jack Betch, and Mike Washington are considered late. Tucker enters camp as the Raiders' most established wide receiver and may lead the position group, but Genty and Bowers remain the first 2 priorities. His weekly target volume is not dependable enough for a higher tier. Naylor offers speed, recent touchdown production, and familiarity with Cousins. Betch can earn an intermediate assignment. Washington is a valuable contingent back with standalone potential if his complementary usage grows. Cousins, Mendoza, Dante Thornton, Malik Benson, Michael Mayer, and Roman Hemby belong on waiver watch. Cousins is the current starter, but limited rushing, replacement depth, and possible in-season transition keep him out of most drafts. Mendoza becomes relevant when his starting timeline is actionable. The other options need routes or attrition. Opportunity is medium. Genty and Bowers have dependable access, but overall scoring and secondary passing volume remain uncertain. Concentration is high. Genty and Bowers are expected to control the most dependable carries, targets, and scoring opportunities. Receivers and complementary backs may divide the remainder without changing the primary 2-player concentration. Risk is high. Las Vegas is installing a new offense behind a recovering line while managing veteran and rookie quarterback timelines. Upside is medium. Genty and Bowers can produce high-end seasons, but line improvement, efficient quarterback play, and a receiver emergence are required for several dependable starters. 2 elite assignments make this more stable than Tennessee, but the high risk matches Cleveland, the Jets, and Tennessee because several central conditions can disrupt the broader projection. The draft memory hook is Genty and Bowers are the Raiders you can trust. Every player after them is a bet on the quarterback timeline and line recovery, so use late prices for their uncertainty. Kansas City offers the division's most proven quarterback coach foundation, but managers must price recovery. Mahomes' movement and Rice's route load affect the passing game, while Walker provides a dependable lead profile without every valuable snap. The Chargers offer the largest schematic change. McDaniel should create better spacing for Herbert. Hampton and McConkey carry dependable volume. Johnson, Gadsden, Njoku, and Harris must establish the order behind them. Denver offers the strongest structural floor. The line, Nix, and Sutton are established, and Waddle raises the explosive ceiling. The backfield creates the division's deepest concentration question because several good players can share a successful offense without becoming dependable every week. Las Vegas offers the clearest 2-player concentration. Genty and Bowers remain stable while Cousins manages the opening phase and Mendoza controls the future. The line and receivers determine whether the ecosystem expands. The largest risks differ. Central injury risk in Kansas City, installation and line cohesion risk for the Chargers, distribution risk in Denver, and quarterback transition and protection risk in Vegas. That distinction matters in the middle rounds. A good offense does not make every supporting player dependable. A new coach can raise efficiency without concentration volume, and 2 elite players can remain valuable in an unresolved offense. Use ADP and rankings to locate value. Use the ecosystem to decide whether a player fits your roster and whether the opportunity is stable enough for the price. That is the ecosystem for the AFC West. Rankings provide the forecast. The ecosystem provides the framework. Before you learn rankings, learn the environment. And remember, know the environment. Draft better.